For centuries, it had been the center of civilization in the Western world. Athens was the city of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, the birthplace of democracy and for Western philosophy. It was the bridge between ideas and religions and philosophies. Acts 17:16 says this: while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. This is referencing the Greek marketplace of Athens. Built hundreds of years before, it had become the religious center of the city. Hundreds of idols and altars and places of worship were jammed in there. There were so many religious items that the Romans had to build another marketplace for normal marketplace activities. As Paul walks in there, notice how he responds to the overwhelming number of idols in this place. He was distressed. His heart was broken. Was he offended? Maybe. But the passage clearly states that Paul was disturbed by what he saw. So what was his response? He immediately began to engage. First in the synagogue where the Jews and the God-fearing Greeks would gather. Then he went into the marketplace and spoke to whoever would listen to him. He must have been so effective in his communication that he was invited to the Areopagus, which many people believe was the Mars Hill. There was gathered the intellectual elite of Athens, plus many other citizens who had come to hear all of these new ideas from Paul. Now there's a lot to be learned from Paul's statement here. First, he was starting where they were. Second, he sought to understand the culture. He noted that he carefully studied their objects of worship. This must have been pretty difficult for him. Many of the idols were vile and violent, and some just downright pornographic. But Paul's broken heart drove him to try to understand why people would worship these idols. He was no doubt seeking a connection with them so that he could build a bridge to Jesus Christ for them. Building a bridge requires that you stand on either side. Third, he was positive about the truth he found. If nothing else, the Athenians were quite religious. They worshiped a lot. Paul's concern was that they know the truth so that they could worship the true God. As the passage goes on, we find Paul quoting not from the Bible, but from their own sources, from their own philosophers, from their own poets. He knew what was popular with them, and he used it to communicate basic truths. In a similar way, I've had opportunities to talk to a lot of young people about Jesus Christ by bringing up issues in today's popular music or movies. Since everything has a worldview at its foundation, it's pretty easy to bring up specific issues related to life and the world from the popular cultural realm. Finally, Paul was very clear about presenting the gospel. He didn't water it down. He built that bridge. So, this is our challenge. Build a bridge. We are called to engage the culture with the heart and the mind of Jesus Christ. When we look around the world, our hearts should break. As a result, we should have a passion to think deeply and broadly so that we might be able to communicate clearly the hope that's found in the person and the message of Jesus Christ.